in his first letter to the people of Corinth, Paul writes to them and says that God won't allow you to be tempted beyond more than you can bear. He's not going to let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, whatever more than you can. He won't let you go through more than you can handle. That word tempted in Greek is pyrosmos. It could be a trial, an affliction, a calamity, test. Let's go with affliction right now. How many of you have had afflictions that are just unbearable? You're still here though, but you thought it was beyond anything you could ever go through, but you made it through it and it was terrible. And how many of you have gone through not just one affliction, but then when that one seems to go away, another strikes and another strikes and another strikes, and maybe it's your health, maybe it's your vehicle, your car, your truck, whatever you drive. Maybe it's your home, one problem after another. Maybe it's your children. Maybe it's your spouse, your relationships, your jobs, whatever it is. Just one thing after another, after another, after another. And if you told your story, most likely, most people would think that you're a drama king or a drama queen. You're exaggerating. There's no way. You don't look at the bright side of things. You know, you just must be a person that looks at the negative. Well, the people that judge you like that obviously haven't gone through what you have. And there's a lot of people that go through a whole lot more than somebody else as far as these calamities, trials, testings go. Just like Paul himself, you know, he's telling them that God's not going to let you go through more than you can bear. And this dude, I mean, Paul, if you read the story of Paul in the book of Acts, that guy, he had a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, you know, have you ever gotten beat up by somebody, but not just beat up with their fists? If you got beat up by somebody, they're punching you with their fists, that's bad enough. But if you got beaten by a whole bunch of people, and not only are they hitting you with their fists, but they're hitting you with pieces of wood, like, you know, what do we have today? Baseball bats. You know, they're hitting you with baseball bats, with tire irons. They're whipping you, and then they start to throw big rocks at you. Don't just think that those rocks bounce off and, oh, well, no big deal, you know, you get over it. You ever have a terrible injury, like a muscle tear or a tendon tear? Do you know how bad that hurts? Have you ever broken a bone? I've broken bones before, and man, having broken bones is terrible. Having torn tendons and ligaments is terrible. I've torn so many tendons. I've torn muscles. It's terrible, right? So Paul, he's gotten so much done to him throughout the years. I mean, and then he goes through crazy things. Like I've been in some car accidents in my life, right? I've been a passenger I was a passenger in my dad's Volkswagen van when I was just about to turn 14 years old, and we were rear-ended on the freeway, and we were at a dead stop, and I went right through the rear windshield, the back windshield of the Volkswagen van, went right through it, head first, bam, backwards. Busted my head open so bad, shattered the back of my skull, broke my chin. I have no eyebrow bones. My eyebrow bones here are gone. It got shattered to pieces. Broke my chin right here. My head was shattered to pieces back here. I still feel back problems to this day. I still have knots on my head from this thing. Well, Paul, they didn't have cars back then, but he got in ship accidents where traveling across the ocean and the ship's torn to pieces. And could you imagine going through something like that? Because now not only are you getting hit by all this debris and stuff and things flying by, and perhaps people's bodies hitting you and crashing into you, and all these pieces of the ship, which big, you know, whether they're metal structures or or wooden ones, you're getting smashed around by that, and then on top of it, you're thrown into water that you can drown in. And who knows the temperature of these waters, and who knows what's swimming under you in these waters. I mean, it's pretty bad. And he didn't just have that happen to him once. It's quite often. He got bit in the hand by a very poisonous snake. I've been bitten by snakes twice. I got bitten in the ocean by an eel once, but none of those were poisonous things, fortunately. I got stung by a stingray in my foot. That was poisonous. That hurt. It's painful, and getting bitten by snakes isn't fun. You know, it's different, you know, but Paul got bit by a poisonous snake. So, you know, he's been through a whole bunch of stuff that's just blows your mind away. Talk about a guy that should be like, where are you, God? I thought Jesus says, I'll never leave you. I'll never forsake you. I will never abandon you. Come to me, all you who are weary, worn out, tired. And guess what I'll do? I'll give you rest. I'll give you rest. How could Paul still have faith in Jesus when it doesn't seem like he's getting any sort of rest? He's getting beaten one day after another, after another, after another, by people, I mean, beating him up badly to the point where they left him for dead. You don't leave somebody for dead. If you're trying to kill somebody, you don't just beat them and say, yeah, it looks good enough, dead to me. No, you go check the pulse, you feel him, oh man, we killed him, good job, let's get out of here. I mean, they leave him for dead. Beaten that bad. Don't you think that Paul would be like, you know what, you guys, I was wrong about this Jesus guy. He does forsake you. When you need him the most, he's not there. How he kept his faith is just, you know, amazing. What an example. I mean, how do you do that? You know, I not only do I hear from people on a regular basis of what they're going through, and they're ready to give up, and some have given up because they think they've gone through more than anybody else that's ever lived. And when you're in that position, hey, you know what? I know how that feels, honestly. I know what that's like to think that. I've been there too. People might say you're having a pity party, but you're the one suffering, and when you're going through this suffering, you know, it is terrible. Peter says it's one thing if you're suffering because you did it to yourself, but it's another thing if you're suffering because other people are doing it to you. But you know, suffering, no matter what, whether it was you doing it to yourself or somebody else did to you, or it was a complete accident, whatever, it's still suffering. You know, recently I haven't shared it yet. I mentioned it on one of my videos briefly. I said I'd share it with you, but you know, I've gone through a whole lot of suffering through my life. I mean, one thing after another. Even my vehicles get attacked, it seems like supernaturally attacked. I get a vehicle for working in. You know, I need two vehicles. I need two vehicles to work in. One I donated to a friend of mine that had a brother-in-law. He told me his brother-in-law was in need because his brother-in-law's wife left him, and he didn't have a car, and he needed to get to work, and his car broke down, and he had to take an Uber to work every day, and he works as a grocery clerk and doesn't make too much money, and the poor guy has all these kids and stuff. So I had this 1996 Nissan Maxima that had a bunch of new everything in it, and it almost had 140,000. It was right under 140,000 miles. Maybe it was like right about to turn 140,000, or maybe it did. But I remember it was 139. But when I delivered it to my friend, it probably hit 140 then. But my mechanic said, don't ever get rid of that car. But I wanted to do something that I felt Spirit guided. I felt like the Spirit guided me to do it. So I donate this car. I can't afford to donate stuff, but I do it out of trust. And out of wanting to be a blessing to somebody. Not to get praise from this guy, because I don't even know my friend's wife's, it's my friend's wife's brother-in-law. So I donate this car, and I never heard back from them until a little over a month later when I went to my buddy's house to go cut him and his son's hair. He has sons too. And as I'm cutting his hair, he's like, oh, hey, by the way, did I mention the thing about the car with my wife's brother-in-law? I said, oh, no, I never got to hear about it. How's he like the car? He says, oh, well, and then his wife comes up and chimes in. She's like, he didn't need a car. He has like 3 cars. She says, so, you know, so my buddy's like, so we didn't really know what to do with it. He says, but my son has a friend. Every time my son's friend comes over, he has one of those cars that has one of those loud mufflers, and it's really irritating to listen to. So we gave him your car so that when he comes over, he can drive something that's more quiet. I'm like, oh, okay. Now, you know, I gave that car. It was for a different purpose, I believed. And then it was given to somebody for a different purpose. And I know how much I could have gotten for that car. Especially right now, used cars are going for quite a bit. And this was car was super clean, good body, had a bunch of new stuff. Had a new radiator, it had a new AC unit, it had new brakes and rotors in it. I put a new water pump in it. I mean, it was a good car. A list of things, but that's just to name a few things that I put new in there. And but I couldn't use the car anymore for what I'm doing mobily, with my tools and equipment in my vehicle. I need something a little larger, so I got this SUV I'm driving right now off of my roommate's son. Sold it to me. And you know, so this thing happens with the Nissan, and I have to admit, I'm kind of bummed about it, but I didn't say anything to them. It's almost like my buddy gave me one story and his wife gave me a whole different story. He didn't need a car. They've got 3 cars. I'm like, okay. He made it sound like this guy had to take an Uber to work. I'm pretty sure that's what he told me. And he didn't have a car. And poor guy makes no money. So I'm like, they should get their stories straight when they tell stories. Another thing is, you know, I get this vehicle, and this vehicle, you guys can't hear it, but I hear it all day, every day. And it's amazing when other people think you're nuts. They think you're hearing things. There's a super high-pitched sound in this car. It's so high-pitched, and it makes my ears sound like they're ringing constantly. When I go to bed at night, all I can hear is a high-pitched ringing in my ears now. Because this thing has such a high-pitched noise. It's like those dog whistles that only dogs can hear. I'm like, am I the only person that can hear it? Everybody else thinks I'm making it up. My mechanic, oh, I can't hear anything. So I go online and I check other people that have the same model car I have. This is a 2010 Ford Edge Luxury Edition model. It's a 6-cylinder. It's a nice vehicle. Got it used. He sold it to me for like, what was it? I can't remember what I paid him. $5,500, I think. And it had like 140 something thousand miles, so not high, but I could use it for my work. You know, I needed this kind of vehicle. But that's a thing that's a bummer. It's like, why doesn't this noise go away? And all these other people, I looked online and there's other people that are complaining about the same thing, so I'm not alone. And they say the same thing that I do. Like, people think they're nuts and they're hearing things. No, I'm not hearing nothing. This physically alters my ears. My ears ring all night long. It's just, ugh. So, you know, when this car does need work, you never know when your car's going to break down on you. It's good to have a backup vehicle, especially with me as a mobile hairstylist. I've got to be on time to my appointments daily. Because if I miss appointments, trust me, people aren't so happy about, hey, when they want their hair done, they want it done now. That's how things are in San Diego. Some people are understanding about things. The majority seem to not be. I've had people that say, well, I'll just go somewhere else. You know, if I've had to cancel their appointment, well, I'll just go somewhere else. Or if I don't have an availability at the time that they want. Or on my day off, if I don't come to their house on my day off. And trust me, I have people that, hey, I need this done. They want me to come on my day off. I'm like, listen, I need this. I need this day off for myself. In fact, now I just decided I'm going to start taking 2 days off. I was working 7 days for a long time, and when I started this thing last year, And then finally I decided to take a day off for myself, and now I'm like, that just gives me time to barely get all my errands done, but I need a day off, right? Can't go associate with anybody, can't, just without a day off. So I need those 2 days off. I have to do it for me. But you won't believe how many people are upset because they want me to come to their home on Sundays or Mondays, and those are the days I decide to take off. I just go somewhere else. Never mind. Well, I'm not going to cave. I'm not going to cave and say, okay, I'll come over. I have to stick to this. I caved once by going on my day off because it was an emergency for the person. They had a special trip they were taking, but there's always emergencies. I had a guy who I cut his hair a week ago, and now he wants me to fit him in somehow this week because he has a trip he's taking on this coming Sunday to go speak at a conference, and he has to look his best. And believe me, my schedule is tight, and I'm going to tell you why. But I want to share something. Before I tell you that, let me share with the other truck situation. So I bought another SUV off of my roommate's soon-to-be son-in-law, who's traveling the world with his fiance, my roommate's daughter. They're doing 12 months and seeing 12 countries. And so he decided he didn't need his SUV anymore. And it's a 2010 Mercury Mariner. It has a 4-cylinder engine. It uses less gas than this one. It had 129,000 miles on it, so it was pretty low miles. And I test drove it. It doesn't have any power to it or anything, but it would be a good backup vehicle. And I've been saving money for so long. I save everything I can get, surplus for just in case car repairs and all that kind of stuff. And so he sold it to me for $4,100. So I'm like, okay, this will empty my savings for sure now. But it's good for me to have a backup vehicle, because when this one goes down, I can't Uber to people's houses. That's impossible. Can't do it. I need to keep on being able to work and be on time for my appointments. So now I have a backup vehicle. When I get that backup vehicle, I take it in this area I'm working at right now, and I go park at this grocery store nearby. I went in there to use the restroom real quick, in and out, before I went to my next client's house. And I didn't realize it. I must have been typing in my client's address when I got to the vehicle, looking at my phone and typing in the destination for the next house I have to go to, because that's how I get from place to place. Type in the person's name and just hit their address, and it sends me there. And when I get to my next destination, the guy's house I go to, he's like, oh, you got a new ride? I'm like, well, new used, yeah. And he's like, what happened to the front end? And I'm like, what? And I get out and I'm like, what happened to the front end? Somebody smashed into it really good. Smashed the front end up. And they must have done it in the parking lot and didn't leave a note on the car or anything. That was a bummer. So the front end's smashed up. And then it starts to rain like crazy out here in San Diego recently. I mean, we were getting so much rain, we're not used to it. And guess what? That SUV sunroof, oh, the sunroof it's closed properly, trust me. Well, maybe you're not closing it right. No, I'm closing it right. That thing leaks crazy. And the whole truck got flooded inside, and the carpet and all that is mildew now, and it stinks super bad. And every time I wanted to try to air it out, it's raining again. So I had to keep it covered with a tarp, because I don't get a garage the car. And the tarp, it helps, but that stinky mildew smell inside is so sad, because it just got it. Now the whole interior is destroyed. And it's like so hard to, I can't even air it out today. Today is a hazy, overcast, misty day. We had a couple sunny days, so I left the windows open every chance I got. Tried to air it out. Every time I feel the carpet, it's still soaking wet. It's one thing after another. So then let me share, and then I'm thinking about, well, man, if I only had the money to get these things fixed. And then I start thinking about, man, and I gave that Nissan of mine away as a gift, thinking it was helping a guy that was in need, and now it just goes to some kid whose muffler is irritating to my friend when when his son's friend goes to the house, he has one of those noisy mufflers. You know, those guys that like to make their mufflers noisy. So let's give him this car. Let's give him Mike's car. So when he comes over, we don't have to hear it. Yay. Yeah, it does kind of bum me out. But what are you going to do? It's done. It's already done. So, man, I don't want to make this message too long because I'm working today and I missed a whole bunch of work. And every time I think I'm better and I get back to work, something happens again. So, you know, a few weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, I think now, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was, well, let me look at my calendar. I'll tell you exactly because I have a calendar here. So let's see. I wrote down 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 5. So exactly 5 weeks ago today, I was in the middle of a workout at the gym, a very intense leg workout, and I went to a different location than I usually go to, just to change things up a bit. I like the leg equipment they have at this one location compared to the one I usually go to. So it was my leg day training, and I was doing a really intense. Intense is not heavy. It's the tension I put on my muscles and the slow and controlled movements I use. Slow and controlled under tension. That's why intense is being under constant tension. So I do constant tension, slow repetitions, and I try not to lift with my ego. I try to use proper weights, you know, and do things right. And I've been sharing my videos, you know, on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. So trying to just inspire people. It's not to look at me, just like this stuff I do here on YouTube isn't about me. It's to inspire people, you know. And anyway, so I was at the gym. I'm working out really intense. And let me crack my windows a little bit because my car's warm inside, even though it's cool outside, but I'm wearing a long sleeve today. So I'm finishing my leg workout, and suddenly my chest starts hurting really, really bad. And by the way, I had recently got health insurance. I've been uninsured health-wise for too long now, and you know, I think it's not legal. I think you get fined on your taxes if you don't have health insurance, you know. So I got a health insurance plan, and they had me come in to do like an annual type physical and blood work and all that kind of stuff. So I went and did that, and doctors talking to me and about my diet and everything. And oh, that diet's going to give you a heart attack. You are going to get a heart attack. You keep going like that, you're going to have a heart attack, you know, because I was doing this zero carb, just basically protein and fats. And because, you know, a lot of doctors, if you're not following the pyramid thing, you know, supposed to eat all your breads and carbs and grains, and then you get your certain fats and all that, but you got to follow the 5 major food group thing. Otherwise, you're heading for a heart attack, you know, and your cholesterol levels are too high. So, and listen, the way I've been eating, it's carnivore diet, and I never felt better in my whole life. You know, it was like I found what works super good for me. Wow, this is amazing. And I listened to a lot of experts on this, you know, that are doctors. And you can find a whole bunch of them on YouTube here. You know, some doctors that have these channels, and they have studied this, and they are experts at this. And not every doctor is an expert on nutrition, right? A lot of them eat donuts and smoke cigarettes and drink a lot of booze. You know, I know people in the medical industry that are alcoholics. So anyway, but he says this, and, you know, I don't, just because a doctor tells me that doesn't make me say, oh no, I have a heart attack now. But he put that thought in my head, and he's like, next, I want you to come back in May. So this is April. This was a couple months ago that I went and saw him. And so he wants to check me in May. And he says, if you don't bring your cholesterol down and all that, we're putting you on statins. I'm like, so I cut, just to make them happy, I cut the fats out. You know, I was eating a lot of egg yolks every day, whole eggs. And he says, that's the problem. So I cut out the egg yolks and only eat a couple a day. And I eat lean meats now, where I wasn't concerned about the meat. And honestly, I'm like, man, I'm not feeling like I did before. You know, something's changed. You know, but I'm still doing it. I still feel better than I did with any other diet. But, you know, the energy and all that, because the fats were used as energy, and I was getting leaner and leaner and leaner. I'm still lean. But anyway, so long story short, I'm in the gym doing this intense leg workout, and my chest starts hurting super bad. And suddenly I'm like soaking wet all over my whole body, and I have that clammy feeling. It's not from sweating, it's just suddenly I'm instantly clammy, and then suddenly my left arm starts hurting. It didn't go numb, it just started hurting terribly in pain, and pain started going through my body, and I'm like, ugh. And I get into the locker room, and I go to splash cold water on my face, and I barely make it to the locker room, and I'm looking in the mirror, and I had lost my coloring. I looked kind of grayish, honestly, like death. And I thought, oh no, this is a heart attack. This is it for me. I'm gonna die in the gym in front of everybody. Now, I'm gonna just share the truth with you. Death comforts me. It doesn't scare me, and I have my reasons. But you know, to suffer doesn't sound fun. If we're gonna go, you want to go fast, and I'm ready. You know, I'm 51. I know for some people they say that's young. For others they say that's old. It's not the age. It's just what I've been through my life. You know, and I would rather be with the Lord, and I'd rather not be here. And so, as crazy as it sounds, I had a comfort that this is my time, but I also was suffering, which really sucked. So I didn't want to die in front of everybody in the gym. I didn't want to call 911. I didn't want to get an ambulance. I can't afford an ambulance anyway. Even with my health insurance, they're not going to pay for an ambulance, because I had this insurance plan in the past, years ago, when I attempted a certain something, when I was Jehovah's Witness, and I was 30 years old, and they didn't pay for my ambulance ride, because that's a whole different story. I was found, somebody entered my home, called 911 from a payphone. Hey, there's a dead guy on the floor, blah, blah, blah. So then they wanted to charge me for the ambulance ride. You know, my insurance wasn't taking care of it. I had to fight them and fight them for a long time to get them to try to pay some of it, because it was expensive. So I'm like, I'm not paying for an ambulance ride. I'm not calling 911. I'm going to go die in my car if I can make it. So I miraculously make it into this vehicle here. This is the Ford Edge. And I'm sitting here, and I'm in this gym parking lot, and I'm like, man, I have to work today. I have all these appointments. I'm like, well, I better start canceling them. People are going to expect me. So I'm thinking of others as I'm slowly feel like I'm dying because my chest is hurting so bad, and I'm sure this is a heart attack. So I start making calls, and I'm just telling people, hey, I'm not feeling well. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to have to cancel and just reschedule. I can't tell you when yet. And so I'm canceling appointments for that day. And after a while, I call my roommate, and I'm like, hey, can you, Kevin, can you come pick me up, man? I'm in the gym parking lot. Told him where I was at. I'm going to die, dude. I said, I think I am. I'm having a heart attack, man. And I don't want to call 911. I just want to go home in bed and lay down and die there. I don't want to drive because I'm afraid I'll have a heart attack while I'm driving and I'll hit somebody. You know, I don't want to hurt other people. So he came down there, and he has all this stuff, heart monitor, blood pressure, EKG thing that reads it, and all these things I never heard of. I'm like, whoa, this guy's fully equipped. So he tests everything on me, and can you believe it? He's like, Mike, I don't think this is a heart attack. According to all this, you're the healthiest guy I've ever met. Everything's perfect. He says, beyond perfect. What? So, didn't make sense, but he took me home. And for 2 days, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I stared at my wall. I stared at the ceiling. And I had my legs hanging at the edge of the bed, and I was suffering. And finally, on the third day, you know, and I started feeling like my stomach was so empty feeling. And then I started getting nauseated, and then, you know, the throwing up north and south, if you know what I'm talking about. And all this stuff just hit me. And I was sick for over a week, and I had to cancel 22 appointments all at once. And you wouldn't believe it, but when I was laying in bed suffering, and I mean, I'm waiting, I'm like, why am I not dead yet? And it, you know, I was getting more phone calls from new new customers, new people that wanted me to come cut their hair because they heard word of mouth about me. Somebody had made a post on their Facebook community page about me. Suddenly I'm getting all these phone calls. So now, not only did I have to cancel 22 people, tell them let's reschedule for you the following week, try to fit them in all these impossible places, but then I have all these calls from these new people, and I'm like, well, I don't have anything available till 2 weeks from now, so, well, I can't do that, sorry, can't do it. So now I'm losing business. And I still don't want to go to a doctor, emergency room. And I know a bunch of you are probably mad at me for saying that, but it's just me. It's just how I am. I spent my life, most of my childhood in a hospital, you guys, constantly in the hospital. And there's reasons, and it was terrible, and I hate it. So I was just ready to go, but I'm suffering. And I finally, on day 3, my other roommate, Judy, she says, well, here, she says, can you eat cereal or something? And I'm thinking, I don't eat carbs, but everything sounded disgusting to me. Meat sounded gross. Eggs sounded gross. But I needed something in me. I knew it. And I'm trying to drink water, but I'm having a hard time. So she gives, oh yeah. So I had a dry cracker. That was the first thing I ate. And I'm like, a cracker, my first carbohydrate in almost a year now. So I ate a cracker. And then I had cereal, and I could only eat a certain amount, but it was like a lifesaver at the time for me. And that was it. And then she got me some Gatorade at the store, said I need to bring my electrolytes. So I did some Gatorade, a little bit though, only could sip lightly. And it took about 8 days or so. And then I thought I could get back to work. Well, anyway, I looked online at all the symptoms I have, since it seemed like it wasn't a heart attack, but man, my chest hurt so bad and my left arm was hurting so bad, all these pains. And it seemed like what matched my condition the most might have been norovirus. But the chest pain didn't really make sense, but everything else did. It's okay. I got this stomach bug in me, I guess. And soon as, so 8 days. So then I tell people I can make it back, and I go back to somebody's house and I'm going to work again. And then I get home that night and my throat's sore and I start coughing. And now I got to cancel everything again because I've got some crazy bad sore throat, lasted for about 4 days, and this crazy cough that wouldn't go away. What the heck? So now I had to cancel more business, deny more customers, wait till I'm not contagious again, all this stuff. So finally I get back to work, and last Friday, so I've been working really hard, you guys, overtime, all these crazy hours, working on my days off anyway, because I have catching up to do. And I'm still going to go to the gym and work out. I'm still going to do my intensity. I have to, it's like, that's a part of me. That's my start of the day, keeps me sane. And what happens is today is Tuesday. No, today's Wednesday. On last Friday. So I spent my, people were wishing me happy Easter. Some were saying happy Resurrection Day, whatever you call it. I spent my day in bed, and the day before that, and most of Friday. I went to one appointment on Friday, and on my way to hit that appointment, my chest was hurting once again. And I started feeling pain in my arm again. I'm like, no. This is not happening. And on my way to this guy's house, I am declaring every healing scripture. I'm declaring that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. I'm healed by his stripes. I'm just keep on declaring and declaring and declaring and over again. And I'm like, I am not going to cave into this. I get to the guy's house. I suffer through the haircut. And then I call everybody else I got scheduled that day. Hey, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I don't know what's happening. And I get home, and my chest is hurting super bad. I didn't get any nausea or stomach issues, but my chest was hurting. My left arm started hurting super bad, and my ribs started hurting, and everything in the center of my chest, deep into my left ribs, into my arms, my shoulders, everything just started traveling. Not so much in my arm, but in my left shoulder especially. And I've been in pain, and I suffered for days, and I just waited. I'm like, I'm having a heart attack. This is it. Now my roommates, their kids flew down. They got a son that's somewhere, and the daughter that he lives in a different, he's in California, but northern, the son is. And then their daughter, she's traveling the world with her fiance, but they came down to visit because she had some work thing here back in the States. So everybody's staying with us. And there's parties going on at my house constantly because they're celebrating their reunion. And right when I'm thinking I'm dying of a heart attack. So talk about not sleeping at night and then listening to noise every day about till 3 a.m. or so, maybe later. And then whoever's getting up early, the banging and all that stuff that's going on. My room is above all the noise. My room's right above the living room. And I when people are drinking and partying, they're not really thinking of others, so much. So I'm up there suffering the whole time, but I'm not blaming them. I'm just saying it was to just top everything off. And I finally am like, man, I'm going to have to call 911. I can't believe it. I'm waiting to die, and I'm in so much pain, you guys, like nothing I've ever felt. Nothing. I have been through so much pain in my life physically, you don't even know, but this is something different. And finally, so this happens to me on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm just like, I can't handle this anymore. And I actually physically started crying, and I don't cry from pain. But I'm in so much pain, and the scriptures, all that's not working. Whatever is my faith is failing. My faith in him is failing me. The prayers that others are doing for me over the phone and stuff, I'm not saying they're failing, but it's not taking away the pain. So everything seems like by his stripes you're healed. Yeah, right. Ha ha. So I'm just, those voices of condemnation. See, you're not a real believer. You're not a real believer. Why aren't you well? Why aren't you well? And I'm just like so down, and I'm like, Lord, I want to go right now. I can't believe I'm suffering. Now, I don't have anything that can get me, like take my life. I don't have any pills or you know what, Pacoom. I don't have that. I don't own any of that kind of stuff, but I'm like, man, I don't want to call 911. And my roommates, they're out with other family that lives nearby doing the Easter thing. So I'm like, man, I'm going to sound like this guy because I don't have anybody I'm celebrating with anything with. So I call him. I'm like, hey, man, I think this is it. I think it's a heart attack, dude. And I called another friend of mine who's a prayer warrior, and he prays for me on the phone, and I thank him. And it hurts to talk. I'm just like, I left him a message, and I said, hey, man, this might be the last time you hear from me. I just want to thank you for everything, and if you can lift me up in prayer, it'd be good. I think I'm having a heart attack, because I looked online, and everything about a heart attack, I had it. Everything. The clammy hands, the sweats, the rapid heartbeat, everything. And the crazy thing is, the only thing is I didn't have numbness in my left arm. I had tremendous pain up in here especially, but not the numbness. And the pain traveled in my ribs and my chest, and I couldn't breathe hardly. Every time I tried to take a breath, it hurt super bad. Well, one of my roommates, Judy, got home first, and she took my pulse was super high, and my blood pressure was in the red. And she's like, oh no, okay, just calm down, breathe. And I'm like, oh, I'm calm, but I'm just in pain. And so I'm breathing, and I go upstairs, and I'm like, maybe I should put ice on myself. So I put ice on myself, a block of ice on my chest, one on my arm, and I'm laying there. I'm in so much pain. And and she recommended taking 4 ibuprofens, so I did that too. And the ibuprofen isn't what did it. It was the ice, you guys. The pain kind of subsided. And then I kept icing myself, and then the pain would come back excruciating again, and I'd ice myself. And then I figured out, hey, quit letting the pain come back and just keep the ice every couple hours. I'm icing myself, maybe every hour. And I'm not doing it for just 10 minutes. I'm doing it for like at least 30. And that seems to have been helping me. And now I think I know what I did. I had torn my labrum years ago in my left shoulder. Peeled it. Told it would never heal right or anything. And I do, all my exercises I do now are are so proper, the form, the weight, everything I do, because I don't want others to suffer injury. So I get made fun of a lot by some people that don't know why I perform certain exercises, but they have no idea why, because it's to help people that might suffer from injury, how to prevent it, because I've learned. But I started not out of ego. I just started doing a couple exercises that I knew not to do deep within. But since I thought maybe my labrum's 100% better, I started doing these exercises again. And then I did a heavy chest exercise. And I was not supposed to do any heavy chest lifting at all, because your labrum kind of ties in with your chest stuff. So I went a little heavier during the week, not on Friday, but a couple days before that. And I'm like, man, I feel so strong. And I did the weight super slow with constant tension. And I was on an incline bench, and I'm not supposed to ever do anything incline or overhead ever again. And I'm never supposed to hold anything like this. I'm only supposed to hold weights like that, which I do. But I was doing incline dumbbells, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to do 80 pounds today. Because when I was in my younger days, I did over 100. So I'm doing the 80 pounds, and it felt really good. I'm doing it nice and slow. I wasn't going high reps, but I was doing slow and controlled. And then I did this shoulder stuff on another day that I held the weights in a way I'm not supposed to. Long story short, I think I retore my labrum really bad, and something that ties into my chest as well. Now, I didn't go get an MRI. Maybe I will, maybe not. I don't know yet. But I know the ice has been helping, and I've been ibuprofen in it. Ibuprofen. And I take them daily, even though a lot of people are against that kind of stuff. You must not have faith in all that. Well, my faith didn't work for me this time. And I had prayers going out for me too. So whatever. I'm not going to self-condemn, and I'm not going to let anybody else condemn. I've done that too much. But I'm just doing what it takes. And anyway, I think I tore something, you guys. And that's what's been going on lately. And I'm just like, you know, he won't let us be tested beyond what we can bear. And I'm just like, when does it become beyond you can bear? How much is too much, right? How much, what's the level of how much it is when it becomes too much to bear? When does that happen? It even hurts to laugh still. But I got to work, you guys. I hope I'm not running late. Let me check my clock. I still have time. I got here early because I need to go get my oil changed before my first appointment. So I'm going to go do that. But I just thought I'd share with you because, you know, I know a whole bunch of you that contact me on a regular basis, and you're ready to just quit. And you're talking to a guy, I believe. And I believe in his grace, and I believe in healing. And I'm telling you, man, before I had this thing happen to me, that was on a Friday. On Thursday, a guy comes up to me and he says, Mike, hey, remember when you prayed with me yesterday? I said, yeah, because he was telling me about his granddaughter. He was worried about her. He was going to go after his workout back to the hospital because she's in the hospital with a 107-degree fever. That's scary high. And I'm like, hey, do you mind if I pray with you, man? And he's like, sure. Yeah, okay. So I just said, Lord Jesus, you said in your word that by your stripes we are healed. And I said, so I declare that over her, that she is healed by your stripes, by your wounds. And I said, so I command right now in your authority and in the power of the Holy Spirit, I command her to be healed from head to toe, and I command that fever to go right now. And this guy says, amen. He's like, you know what? I'm a Catholic, but I'm not like this practicing Catholic. I'm more of a one-on-one with God thing. And I'm like, that's awesome, dude. That's what it should be, a personal relationship. Make sure, whatever you're in, make sure that your relationship is powerful and personal. Don't look for outside sources to give you a relationship with God. Make it personal. You want to belong to, I don't tell people get out of Catholicism. I don't even tell them get out of Jehovah's Witnesses. I was in it, and I know that religion took me further away from a personal relationship ever, right? So, you know, but I encourage you to give it. So anyway, he was grateful for it. He hugs me. So that was on a Wednesday. We prayed. On Thursday, he comes and he says, hey, I left the gym, went to the hospital. She was at 98 degrees. That was her temperature, 98 degrees. I think that's good news, man. So I am a believer. I pray for people all the time. And I'm not going to stop because some things seem not to work on me. Why didn't? Why? I don't know, you guys. I really don't know. And trust me, you can type in whatever answer and you think I might not have heard it before. I've heard all of it. So comment what you want. That's cool. But I've heard everything. Well, God, he lets you go through things because of this and that. You know, I'm just saying, we try to figure out stuff sometimes. Sometimes we just can't. You know, I don't need to be comforted with all this stuff. Well, God, you know, he lets you get. I'm just saying it didn't for some reason. I don't know why. But here I am. I have ice with me. So in between appointments. So before I do his hair, during the oil change, I'm probably going to put an ice block inside my shirt. Let it soak on my chest and my shoulder. And that seems to be doing the trick now. So I'm going to be working, you guys. I'm going to try not to overdo it. Although I have a lot of phone calls coming in. And there are people that are upset with me because I can't overdo it. And I can't fit in new stuff this week and make everyone happy. So there's people that are just not happy with me. And hey, so be it. If I lose business forever, I'll get some more, right? Anyway, but I didn't say this message to bum you out or to boo-hoo or to unload a bunch of stuff. I just told you I would share things. But I'm saying, man, when the storms come, it's one thing after another. It's an attack on so much. It's your finances. It's your vehicles. It could be relationships. That's a whole nother story. And then your health. And what else, you know? So you're not alone, you guys. You're not alone. I'm not trying to say my thing's worse than yours. It's not even comparing each other to each other. Because, you know, when I start getting all bummed and thinking about things, I'm like, you know, I need to get back into positive, though. I live in San Diego, California. Our weather's not too bad here. Even though we got some rain, we still don't live in conditions that some people have. And I'm not one of those little kids on TV you see sitting there with their bellies all distended and bloated, and they got flies all over their face, and they haven't eaten in weeks and weeks and weeks. And their dads can't go get food, you know, because there's wild animals that want to attack and kill. And, you know, there's so much I can be grateful for. I have running water. I have a warm shower I can take. I've got a restroom. How many people don't have these things? So many of us, the hardest things in some people's lives is not having fast enough internet or the newest iPhone. That's what they complain about. That's their suffering. And if that's suffering, like I said, suffering. But when I think of, wow, I start boo-hooing, and yeah, it doesn't feel good. But man, I have to start forcing myself to look at things to have gratitude about. And that's how I snap out of it, even when it's super difficult, you guys. And it doesn't always work for me. When I was going through this, I couldn't think of gratitude stuff. I just was suffering and suffering. So, by the way, I did watch a show on cults. It was a show, it's on HBO Max, called The Vow. And it was about this Nexium cult and the leader and these people. And man, I'm just like, wow. It's not the same thing I came out of, but there's so many similarities of mind control and the disgusting abuse behind this power that these sick people take. They take this power over others and just use it. And it's just amazing. And there's so many people that think, how could anybody ever join a cult and fall for things like that? But they haven't been there. You know, I've been there. I didn't join, I was born in it, but I understand how people get in it. But the effect it had and the ending of it all, what happened, just, whoa, blew me away. So anyway, I'm not recommending it or unrecommending it to you, but just letting you know it was pretty interesting. So, and then I rewatched season 3 of The Chosen. I really liked that too. Just really well done, even though, you know, it's not all, you know, they get the people that make that show. I don't care who the creator of it is, what background, what religion, what the actors, what that faith they have. You know, I hear that kind of stuff from people all the time. You shouldn't say it, you know, but they'll watch movies made by who knows, and they'll watch other actors who knows their stories, right? Just a bunch of hypocrites. So I don't listen to that. I don't care. It's a pretty good show. Is it all 100% what the Bible says? No. That's creative. That's creative artwork they get to do. They get a creative expression. They have the freedom to do that. So they put some things in there to make it more of a movie-ish story type thing. So The Chosen season 3, watched it again, and just really, really good. So anyway, but that other thing too, that vow, wow. If you've seen it, man, leave a comment. Anyway, love you guys. God bless you. Didn't mean to go so long on this tangent or whatever you want to call it. But anyhow, I hope you all have a great one. If you're suffering, you're not alone. You're not alone. And if you ever need prayer, I will pray for you, and many others will as well. All right? Love you guys. Have a good one. And we'll see you again.